Hello there, friends. Today is a good day to talk about Donatism, because why not? So, at a point in the Roman Empire, there was an emperor named Diocletian. He persecuted the church, and one of the ways in which he hoped to extinguish this new faith is to force people to hand over the scriptures so that they could be burned. And there were many who refused to and faced severe punishment for it, and there were many who did. Those who did were called Treta Torres. They were the ones who handed over the scriptures, and there was a very fiery and large segment within the church that decided that those who were the Treta Torres, was who handed over the scriptures, that they were basically outside the fold of God. This was a too grievous of a sin, and if you wanted to be a part of the true Catholic Church, you had to be rebaptized into their sect. Although they wouldn't have called themselves a sect, they would have called themselves the Church. They would have strongly believed that if you, as a priest, were a traditor, you had to get rebaptized, and the things that you blessed, if you baptized somebody, the sacraments you blessed, that these things were null and void if you were in the state of being a traditor. Bishops who ordained priests who were traditores, or those who were in a line, that line was broken because of this unfaithfulness. And it was persuasive argumentation. A lot of people were convinced that, oh yeah, that sounds right, we need to be pure. And this rigorism, in some senses, really appeals to those who want to be faithful to Christ. And I can understand the rigorist mentality. And then the church responded with, there were some in the church who responded to this by saying that they disagreed, that God had to be, that God is more graceful than this. And one of the people who is most famous for responding to this was a man named Agustin, who's a bishop in Hippo. And the argument went along the lines of, ex opere operato Christi. Ex opere operato means by the work worked. Basically just means the sacraments that you receive are blessed not because of the man blessing them, but because of the grace of Christ. So let me give you an example. A priest may be doing a service, and someone in the congregation would think like, oh, this guy might be a traditor, or maybe he was blessed by a traditor. The communion I'm eating then, is that not real presence? Are we not doing a real service here? Is this all fake because that guy is a traditor, or he has less credibility for some reason? Maybe he was blessed by a traditor or something. And the church proper eventually decided in favor of those siding with St. Augustine, in over and against the Donatists, who believed that they were the Catholic Church and you had to get rebaptized into their strain. I think that this may be surprising to some of us modern Christians, especially those of us who want to be pure. Surprising because, man, we wanted those guys to get in trouble and have a timeout, or we wanted everybody to double down and double check their purity. But in another sense, this is very pleasing. It's very comforting, and I say that not just because I myself am a pastor, but because as a Christian, it's wonderful to remind myself that regardless of the person who blessed my communion, regardless of the priests around me and the pastors around me, whether or not they're up to snuff, compared to what? Compared to Jesus, they're not. That the grace of Christ still powerfully works in them and within us. So here's another example. And then this is more, I guess, of a Protestant evangelical context, where, you may think, oh, that, brother so-and-so's doing a reading now, or, that person's leading worship, or, this pastor's speaking, and I know a lot about this pastor, and you may think, well, I'm just not in a good environment. For me, I want the best kind of environment, spiritually speaking, I guess it's like gluten-free, organic. Like I want everything to be pure and perfect. So I just don't feel like I could receive from this pastor, or I don't think I can be led truly, into the spiritual realm under this worship leader. And I think we can learn a lot from this lesson in history about the Donatists. My response is yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can benefit from the grace on somebody else's life, even if they, for some reason, are a traitor to the Lord in some way, or have sinned in the past, or they're not perfect for some reason. So it's good to remember, we don't rely on the grace of a man or a woman leading us in worship or reading a verse publicly. We all rely, all of us, on the grace of Christ that is working within us. And it is by means of the grace of Christ that we receive the sacraments, and that the sacraments are what they are. And I think that should encourage you. I'm going to leave you with this Bible verse. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 10 says, "But by the grace of God, I am what I am, and his grace to me was not without effect. No, I worked harder than all of them, yet not I, but the grace of God that was with me." So whatever it is that you find yourself doing, whether you are working in the church in some level or professional level, or if you are a part of the church and you receive sacraments weekly, keep in mind and be encouraged that it is by the grace of Christ that works in us that we receive these things. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.